Hey. Is everyone good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Lily, we can't see you, so.
I was just pointing out, Maeve, I'm eating.
Oh, Lily's on mute. You're on mute, Lily, in case you are
in case
saying
you're trying
things.
to say something. Okay.
Hi, yes.
Hi, Lily. So I think maybe the first thing we talk about is the TRO. I saw Quentin send some messages, and I think that also was him again. It was over the weekend.
Yeah, I
multiple tenants.
I had
email.
I took out the
make it
multi-tenant
difficult for us.
stuff. I took that out. What was that?
Had to go and make it difficult for us.
I know. I couldn't stop myself from trying to get it
Perfect.
right. And of course, we hadn't looked at that. At least I hadn't for a while. And since I did, I saw these things we needed to change. So I laid those out, and happy to roll back any of the ones that were like, we really just can't test this responsibly. I'm
a bit concerned. We do need to, partially because my brain is apparently a little bit fried, so I'm kind of struggling to organize a game plan, but maybe Maeve and I together can work something out. We just need to figure out, we haven't tested review screens before, so we need to figure out kind of what needs to be checked there. Like, what are the vulnerabilities of review screens? If you have ideas on that.
I do. So, well, the great thing about this form is it's really short. So they're not really review screens. It's just I have links that take you back to the question where you answered, the screen where you answered it originally.
Because Caroline and I would play around with that on the two. Sorry?
How does it not get rid of your answers?
It does not. I don't know why. That's not the behavior of the back button.
Because now I have an idea, but about something else. But okay, like, because if there is a way to do, we can make our own back button. Anyway.
That's what I was trying to say that earlier, and yeah, but I don't think I explained it clearly. Yeah, so that's behavior that the back button, where it erases answers, it's an intentional behavior that was chosen.
Okay.
It is not a requirement of the way DocuSimple works. You can revisit a screen without erasing the answers that come later.
But the review screen, Carol and I used we were just playing on the 209A last week, and I think you were just kind of implementing it or playing around with it, and it was a pretty cool thing to see, because especially with the 209A, when we want to see how it goes back, I mean, it was very, very useful to have. I mean, you can't release that without the review. So you can test the review with the TRO, which, as you said, is a very simple form. And basically it'll be, I think the test will just be, from my knowledge of the review screen that we saw on the 209A, it'll be like testing that it goes back to the specific screen that you want it to go back to.
Mm-hmm.
And that when you change an answer,
it then pulls that through, the new answer through.
Yes, those would be the
and that you are able to change certain things, like that you're able to add and delete. Because when we were looking at the 209A, there was something where we chalked it up to it's still getting made, and we kind of accidentally opened it by mistake. But there was something, Caroline, I don't know if you remember, where you could add like guardian ad litem, and you could add, there was one where you couldn't add a new one, if you know what I mean. So you could add a lawyer for the parents, you could add a lawyer for the children, but you couldn't add a new guardian or ad litem. So it's a thing like that where we have to check that you can add for each category, you can remove those, that all the buttons that are supposed to be there are there, basically, and that they work.
Yeah. And it's easier for this one because there are really no buttons like that. It's just like it takes you back to one screen where you enter the information and you go right there. So, but you're right. Those will be really important to test for 209A.
Caroline, are you okay? What's going on?
No, I took notes from when you were talking, and I've got these. I'm going back and forth between these two laptops, so they're on the floor. So I'm just bending over.
Okay. All right. As long as you're okay.
What's going on over there?
So I think the advantage of this is that none of this changes logic, which means that we may be able to have some of the test writers, if we can wrangle them, because I hadn't heard a lot of responses from them recently. If we can wrangle them to, I think they're college students and wake up really late and then don't do work after like 5 p.m., which is...
We still love you guys, if you're watching.
Yes, we do love you, and we love the work you do. And they also come up with, brilliant points. But it doesn't quite help with all of the aspects of testing.
Noelle's back, by the way. Very excited.
Oh, that's great.
I don't remember. Okay. But
Brilliant.
anyway, but they should be able to make scenarios even for these tests, because it's just a matter of going, matching up like previous input with, like seeing what was done previously. But we do have to remake the template for the TRO, and we have to rewrite tests. Like we have to write tests because the format has changed. So that's just Maeve and me. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Maeve and me and Kate.
Yeah. And if any of them are like, this is going to take a long time to test, I'll disable it. I mean, obviously, I think all of them will make it better, but if we can't make sure it works, then it's better to not have it. So
Yeah.
like the review screen sections, it's easy to turn that off, for example.
Right.
The place where I realized we really need it is if you're about to send a form to the court.
Okay.
There needs to be a way for you to change it without going back to the beginning of the form.
Yeah.
I think it's easier if you download it and you could mark it up and print it or edit it before you send it, but we're sending it straight from in our system. So I think it makes me think the next thing we need to do for the interview generator is to have a draft of a review screen right away, because it's really a critical thing for every form, I think.
Yes, I agree. Unless, yes, and also this back button, because I think that could really help. But I do agree that it needs the review screen, but then there's the thing at the lower
it's both,
and on phones and
and the use case of an advocate filling it out for you, then you really need the review screen. An advocate needs to be able to see what you've, either way, whether you're sending it to the attorney to submit it after they check it over, or if you're the attorney and you're sending it to them after you've done it. Like in both scenarios, you need to be able to see the answers in like kind of a summary place.
Yeah. Okay.
So if we write a test for the review screen for the TRO, which is, arguably a lot easier than the 209A, we'll have an idea of how we're going to proceed with testing the 209A review screens, right? Is that our game plan?
I think so. And I wonder if that's also a way I wonder if we can use review screens in some way to skip, to make our skippers for our tests. Do you think so, Quentin?
Tell me what you mean, what you're thinking, or if it's long.
I'm thinking if we can have the questions available in the review screens to begin with. I'm not sure how possible that is. Then people could go there and be like, these are the ones I'm checking off as ones I don't want to. Like the tests could happen if they are affecting the same variables. Testing could happen a lot more quickly. We can test this going through the screen separately.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Use the review screens to let you tweak your answers and see if it still is correct.
Well, no. Like, say you want to test only the affidavit or something. Then you mark off on the review screen, you mark off all the other necessary answers so that you don't have to go through, right? Or if you want to try a scenario with 2 children, then you create the 2 children in the review screens where it's really fast. And then you mark off the stuff that you don't need to. You give answers.
Oh, so you go
quickly
straight.
in the
It's
review
almost like you
screen.
go straight to the review screen,
Yes.
and it's like a form, and you just put the answers into the review screens instead of going through the questions step by step, and then you can go to the bit that you want to test.
Yeah. Okay, this is something we'll think about in the future.
Yeah,
not necessary.
It's an
for
interesting
right
idea. It's not exactly the way review screens work, but because it won't show you things that aren't defined. But
we won't show you the boxes. Yeah.
It won't show you boxes. What? But okay.
Yes, there's no answer for it. It won't review. There's nothing. If there's nothing there to review,
if a person didn't answer a question, right? Like, no,
if it's undefined
because it's defined if it was shown. Sorry. Yep. Continue.
Okay.
Well, we'll think about it.
So
I think we could do what you want, but it just wouldn't be in a review screen. So if you have some notes on it, let's not lose track of that idea. It sounds like a good one. But.
Okay.
All right. So then the next thing is we're having some SME meetings, and we're having the DocAssemble test, DocAssemble teaching, right? That's happening on Tuesday, Quentin?
Wow.
That's going to be really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. So do we have an idea, do you have any sense of how many people who are on the Slack that aren't really active participants yet, or that are, and I just haven't interacted with, which is a lot of people?
I think you've probably interacted with one, Adi. He's back tomorrow.
Okay.
And he's very, very keen for this kind of thing. Lance Goddard is another one who's keen. What time did we say it was going to be at?
2?
Right after the stand-up at 1.
Yeah, right after stand-up.
At 1.
Okay. It's going to be recorded.
Yep. We'll just use the
Because-
same Zoom, I think. We hope we could probably break it into 2 parts, but
Yeah, for recording, I'll
literally
probably
just-
break it into 2, but
Yeah, just stop the recording and then start the recording.
oh yeah.
Okay, so that's Lance will definitely be keen on that. And I think what we do is we put the call out, and then I'll also speak to some volunteers that I know. I just know that Adi's he's on Indian time, so that's not ideal. Because it's quite late there now. But we'll see who else would be interested in it and make sure that they know about it. And then if they can't make it, that we'll release the recording. But I'm very excited for that. I think it's going to be quite cool.
and I think we're going to have, it's not going to be to tomorrow. I'm rethinking. I think we'll have about 6 new volunteers to bring on next week. That'll be
Okay.
Suffolk students who will be either doing it for credit or I don't think any of the ones that have put in yet now are work study. But yeah, so about 6 new students there. So I do want to talk about how I can best help onboard them for something for next week. So that probably will involve watching a recording of the Hello World from tomorrow.
Yeah,
It
so
depends if they're coding or.
Yeah, it depends if that's what they want.
based on what of the 2 volunteers we have, does Hello World, so I was thinking Hello World where people will just create an interview from the beginning, which I've done hundreds of times, but not hundreds, literally. that's not right. But usually people enjoy that. So that's number 1. I think people will still enjoy that, even Lance and Adi, who haven't done it from the beginning of an interview yet. Will it still be helpful to go into the other thing we thought, which was doing a pull request from GitHub and having making a small change in a file and pushing it back up from DocAssemble Playground? Or is that going to be repetitive for Adi and Lance and other people who we think might join?
I think Lance would still appreciate that. Maybe that's not, there was some confusion about something with the GitHub process, and I'm not sure if that was it, but.
I think it would be good if we think about the audience beyond the people who will be in attendance tomorrow.
That's what I was going to say, that it might be useful to have this as a video that we can refer back to, and that there's going to be a complete set of tutorials, so to speak.
And then we should also, we should make clear that Quentin and I were talking about the way we would structure these Training Tuesdays is that basically if you came on, no matter when you came on, you could go back and you could watch the old ones, but we would always then spend the beginning of the next session answering people's questions. So if you went back and watched an old one and had some questions, then we could start off with talking about it then.
Could we
and
do
actually
2 separate videos, like one that answers questions that we could, and then like one that does the new topic?
Well, so
Questions is really
it would
helpful.
effectively be 2 times, however we want to structure the time. Point would be we'd answer questions at one chunk, and then we'd go into the new topic. And that way people who are catching the old ones at any old time could come in and still get involved with the in-person without us having to have a trillion different meetings. And then also from a pedagogical standpoint, as we get more and more people who have done the training, it'll be fun to see if actually someone other than Quentin can field some of those questions in the beginning part of the meeting. And so that'll become a reason why the people who have already done it would still want to be there for the beginning of the meeting.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. And how much time are we setting aside for these Training Tuesdays?
I think an hour we said, right, David? Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's going to be abbreviated. The Hello World won't be that long if we're also doing GitHub tomorrow. But I think we'll have a chance for people to do some fun things.
Yeah, and it's not like we'll disappear for support after that. It's just that this is a time when we can count on doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that this is good. And I think that we just need to make sure that it's advertised and that people are aware of it. And I think that involves actually directly pinging people who have indicated that they'd be interested in learning DocAssemble, which I've kind of got those highlighted, and maybe just directly reaching out to them on Slack today and just saying, not sure if you're aware, or forward the message that's in Slack. Maybe that's a good idea.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
if you, Quentin or David, will you be sending a message in Slack saying we're having Training Tuesday?
Quentin could re-up his message from from earlier.
Yeah, but I think you're right, Maeve. It should be more specific. Just say like, we're inviting you to come to this, rather than we're going to do this. So
yeah, we're inviting you, and then I'll forward that directly into their DMs where people have indicated that they are interested in learning DocAssemble.
Okay.
And then also just maybe put something that's going to be recorded as well.
Should I add this? Is it worth adding?
It's a channel. It's a channel. Yeah.
It's okay.
It's this channel. Go for it. All 11 time zones.
I know, it's so daunting.
If you've gotten them into the code channel, which we have a code channel specifically, then you can also like add them there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want that channel.
So that's a smaller list, I think, though, than who we want to feel coming
brave to join the code channel.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to open it up to those people who didn't feel like they could jump in and do the coding, but are curious.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, to be clear, I do think that the majority of, when I'm looking at the volunteers, study volunteers, I'm going to prioritize those who are open to doing some of the coding stuff. The explicit, well, the sort of implicit, although the pretty much explicit agreement is like, they're going to volunteer for us. We're going to help invest in them. Part of that investment is teaching them new skills. So I anticipate that there will probably be at least this core of like 6 volunteers who will be attending these things regularly.
Okay. From next week.
If you're going to do the GitHub pull request, I think it's a good idea to not make it homework, but let people know about Maeve and Michelle's first GitHub video, because I mean it's easy to follow
how to get set up in DocAssemble.
Yeah.
How do I? Oh, and I should actually encourage people again to sign up for accounts as well.
That's what it involves. Just it involves signing up for the account and requesting developer access, and then how you do the packages on how you get set up in DocAssemble, basically.
Oh, awesome. And this is in YouTube, our YouTube channel?
Yes, Lab YouTube. Because Caroline, you're right, that's a very good foundation that perhaps prior to this tutorial, prior to Training Tuesdays, they can have already set up this.
Yeah.
Do you have it there, Quentin? I can link it to you if you want.
Sure, you can link it to me. Yeah, I'm looking through. It would be good for me to see this.
Yeah, 5 minutes, 21 seconds.
Oh, that's perfect.
Oh, link it to. Terrible.
So we have left
522.
Just kidding.
Yeah. Okay.
What?
That's how long the tutorial is.
Yeah.
Oh. Right. Got it. Okay. Tutorial on.
Here, I've got the link. Just a second.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
Where am I putting it? Here, I'll put it in the. There it is in our chat.
Okay.
So if people could just follow those, I mean, it's if you 2 times if you watch in double speed, you can get it up to, you can get it ready, and you're then ready to go with a developer account, because then whoever has authority to approve developer accounts, I think it's Michelle you have as well.
Yep.
And David and Quentin and Matt. Oh, I miss Matt.
Yeah, I sent him a message the other day. He's doing all right.
Good. As good as you can do with this. Yeah. Okay, so that's a good idea. So maybe include that in your message, Quentin, if you could. Just say like, this is the introductory or the how to get set up.
This is some prep work you can do if you want to.
Yeah.
Be
ready. So you can hit the ground running.
That's yes. I like that. Okay, and then the other thing I wanted to talk about was the meeting. Did we manage to schedule a meeting tomorrow for the SMEs for the tour?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
we do.
That's at 10.
And Chris is gonna. Yeah, and Chris has volunteered to co-facilitate. So that's great. Kate, did you? I think you should probably, since you're going to co-facilitate with them, you should probably reach out and maybe have a conversation beforehand. But basically, for everyone else who wasn't on our DMs. Kate sent out a thing asking people to sort of look at stuff and take down notes beforehand, so we could avoid groupthink during the meeting for people who just are seeing it together. And then
Chris had a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, Chris and I had a conversation. That's what this is all coming out of, and then we looped in Kate. through some DMs. And so basically the idea is Kate and Chris will co-facilitate tomorrow. And basically, you've got the hour, and it's going to be sort of a welcome, an overview, and then just 5 to 10 questions that you really want to get at. And so that's probably looking at things like what are showstoppers? Are there things about flow or language that you think are really important? And so that's probably, Kate, what you should refine a little with Chris.
Okay.
But really, it's just sort of like the general things, like what are your thoughts about flow, language? Are there any showstoppers? Anything that we could do to break this? So we know what not to do. But the key thing was that people have hopefully looked at it beforehand, and so they won't all be giving the same answers.
Yeah.
So that's at 10 o'clock tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll try to be on the call in the background, but that's my that's when I enter primary parent duty.
And that was kind of my plan too, is just to be on the call in the background. It sounds like I wouldn't be needed for another role.
Unless we go, Quentin, we need you.
I'll keep my ears out for that.
Be careful if you say that and I have you on the speakers, then my daughter is going to be like, no, Quentin. Actually, maybe that would be good for distracting. I don't know. We can just sit and watch the video.
Okay, so that's all sorted then. Training Tuesday is sorted. Michelle and I are going to talk about testing. Caroline, are we going to finish up on our...
I dropped off the face of the planet this weekend. Sorry.
How dare you?
It's the weekend, Caroline. It's the weekend.
On a weekend? Are you joking?
Well, she was run over by a tractor, so...
Well, I just escaped getting run over by a tractor.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad it didn't actually run you over.
What happened?
I didn't leave it in neutral when I put the brakes on.
Oh.
And so I was right next to it and started rolling backwards. And so I just had to move really quickly. So I pulled a muscle in my ribs and it hurt a lot.
Oh no.
Everything and everybody is okay. I just felt really sorry for myself yesterday.
And Caroline felt sorry for herself because we didn't manage to have our casual Friday and she wanted to share a video of a dog Zoom meeting call. So maybe you can drop that in the channel, Caroline.
Everybody's probably seen it by now, right?
No, you didn't have the link. So I heard saw the reference to it, but I didn't get to watch it.
Oh my gosh, it's hysterical. And I sent Kate one ages ago, but I don't think she ever saw it. Did you see it?
Yes, I did. That's great.
Okay, so
I'll send it. So the thing is, I was hoping to work with you, Quentin, this weekend because I've done a lot of language stuff, but there's like 3 things I gotten hung up on in terms of tech. Like it's just not working the way I want it to work, and I can't do it quickly. And Maeve and I were working. Working on the flow chart made us think about how we should write it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
How to change it.
That happens.
And so I did a little bit, but then I couldn't get it to work. And I thought, I would plan on meeting with you this weekend, but I just couldn't fix it. So
I have time this afternoon if you're free.
Yeah, okay, that'd be great. That's fantastic.
Just send me a message.
Gazillion notes and things. Yeah. So.
And then maybe Caroline, you and I can go tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
After your call with Quentin and see where we need to finish that flow.
We were working on the disclosing
affidavit of care
custody. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's hard to remember what I did with Maeve on the disclosing care or custody, because we actually worked on some of the language in the flow chart. And then what I've done now, I've got things all over the place but anyway.
I can link you that flow chart if you want to get in, Caroline, just for ease of reference.
Yeah. No, I've got them. They're in my drive, so I can find them really easily. Thanks.
Okay, I'm aware of everyone's time. It's 1 o'clock.
I'm not going to say anything about any paperwork.
Okay, that's fair. That's totally fair. I had a thing, but I don't remember what it is. My brain is I'm having a little
foggy
trouble today remembering.
The one thing we had.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
That's I think basically what I was going to
Okay,
say.
timing is so hard here.
I know.
Always
It
there's a
is.
lag
It's
and then there's a
awkward.
jump. And it's like, so we had flagged today as a day to start the conversation about phase 2.
Oh, yes.
And what that looks like for people. It seems like we're phase 1 is going out kicking and screaming. So we're still working on that, but I do feel like we're on track. So I guess let's just open it up if people have time to say what their thoughts about moving into phase 2. It means Caroline gets to take weekends every weekend. I mean,
And
all
not
of
feel
us
bad about it. Not have to
well,
apologize.
and you shouldn't feel bad about any.
Weird.
I mean, like,
it's so weird.
I mean, we're all doing this. Like, Quint and I have been lucky enough that we've convinced our bosses that this is what we should be doing. But I mean, we're all doing this, volunteering. So, so yeah, thoughts. Just opening the discussion.
I can't write anything down right now, but I we're still so in it.
But you have to
it's
start
really
thinking
hard
about it.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Would it be things like thinking about the next form we want to do, or would it be more like workflow structure?
I want
I
to
would
make
say-
sure we.
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I want to make sure we move into a cadence which is sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main thing that I worry about. So with
So
that
I
as your
think-
guide, it's open to anything.
Yeah, I think that we really need to understand our priorities. I think that's part of it. Like, what is the next urgent thing on the list? And I can say some of my own things that I think are important, like automated testing as well as manual testing, but also figuring out the process for manual testing and really like building a team under us that can manually test, so that when we do have other forms coming in, we have a process for that. And figuring out other pieces of the process, other pacings for the process, like if someone doesn't reply by X, right? Is it gone? Like who is start assigning things, like who is keeping track of what, and how do we make sure that it is still on track, right?
Right.
I think there are a lot of process things we can work out.
Okay.
I think one of my priorities is to let 1,000 flowers bloom and try to take that approach a little bit more, because we've had all of our focus on one set of forms, which is great. But I'd want to spend more time in this next phase on making sure we have a lot of forms that people can work on in order to get more use of all of the people who would like to participate in the project.
Especially now over the summer period.
Yeah, because I think this is a great critical time to catch the students who've just finished up. So
yeah,
I think so. I think, though, that I guess part of the process discussion is how to set expectations, because right now there's a lot of hurry up and wait and a lot of uncertainty about like what happens to people's work when they're done with it. Does it just disappear into the ether, right? Like is anyone actually reviewing X, Y, or Z, right? Like how do people know, and how to make that process visible? Because if we give people the opportunity to work on this form or that thing, right, and then we just never touch base with them for another 2 weeks, that's not a rewarding experience.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. Yeah.
I agree.
So that's what I think is what we need, is a process that diverts our attention from finishing up this one thing that's really critical to making sure every form gets attention, that people who are working on something can have it be done and get the help that if they're stuck on a place, to advance to the next part of it.
Or
And
the
that means
feedback that what they did was good or bad, or
right.
not bad.
Yeah, I think
right.
Going with Maeve's, I would shift, like, instead of like every form gets attention, I'd like every volunteer to get attention.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I think there should be a documentation with like a structure of steps. I know right now there's a Trello that kind of set up the flow, how it goes from beginning to the end. But for me, I'm the first time using Trello, so I cannot get the whole thing like at a glance. If I'm thinking if we could have something in a one document kind of thing, and also have an overflow manager who can manage each step and say how many people are working on this stage, like assign field names or load forms into the system or whatever. So has this kind of overall management and knows who is doing what, what's the status at any day. That's what, and another little point was well, sorry, I have to take a step back. Last Wednesday, Quentin, Mark, and I had a call about the agenda, and Quentin said that we actually should add a step to the Trello flow. And so you put a card to it, remember that?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, for how to identify which fields need
agenda
or something like that. So at that point, I thought Mark said that he was going to add more cards to it. Because he took some notes, remember?
Yep.
Writing.
Well, I thought he was something, I think it sounds like a really interesting project, but I think what he was working on is more a little bit later phase. So it was a way to like identify automatically how many characters can fit in a given field. So I see that as like a really great idea that we won't be able to use to getting these first addenda out. Because I think it's at the wrong stage of our process really right now to start to rerun it through like an automated step. We just have to figure out which fields need addenda. It's only like, I've already done that. I think it's like 4 or 5 at most per form.
Okay, right. So following that, I was waiting for him give me something, but I realized probably it's not going to happen quickly. So what I did on Friday was to take what you did, the code, how to set up all the things, and I made a very simple interview. At the end of the interview, I just added one extra step that puts all this information in a list, and then you can just put the list name in the addenda file. You don't have to get into details. It just automatically loops through it and display it. So, and following that one, then I was going back to read the steps you laid out, how to do it. And I'm thinking, well, we actually need some tables, like as a standard part of the standard procedure. Have those tables identify what's the file name, what's the YAM file name, what's the PDF file name, and then for those forms that need addenda, you say, okay, what's the field name, what's the length of that field, that kind of thing. So this is what I was thinking. In this overall procedure for each stage, there are certain steps you need to take. If we have a written document, and then this manager who oversees everything can just follow those things and say, okay, those are the steps that, okay, here I need this many people, there I need that many people, then just monitor the status.
Okay. I mean, one part of that was, creating that checklist. I love checklists, by the way. Super into checklists. I could stare at, well, I'm happy for other people to do checklists mostly. If the checklist items are interesting, then I love doing them too, but I love other people having checklists. So one thing is we need people who will make those checklists. So for example, do you think you would be able to make those checklists that you described?
I can show you what I have.
No. I mean, would you be willing to make them? I'm not asking what they look like. I'm asking if you would be willing to be part of making them.
I want to show you what I mean. And if we're really thinking about the same thing, I would say yes.
Okay,
I'm saying something, you're thinking something else, then
that's true.
yeah. So I just want
That's
to make sure.
that's very fair. But maybe, I mean, since this is a discussion about posts, sorry, because I like
Take 1
lost the thread
second.
for a
It's
bit.
right there.
Show us.
Yeah, that's just.
Sure.
But what I'm starting to get from this is I'm thinking that maybe this week at some point I should sit down with the project managers, and we should go through the documentation that we have now and the current onboarding workflow,
Sure.
and tighten that up. And then I can take I can take some of that onto my shoulders as well as we start thinking about onboarding the Suffolk volunteers and students.
Yeah,
So we just have to set up a time for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
sure.
So here's
yeah.
the list. This is what Quentin.
This looks really helpful. Yeah.
So this is what I was trying to say. I thought, okay, if I need to do it, I need to know which YAM file I need to modify, and then which form I actually needed to go there, look for the fields that need addendum. So then here it's for each particular form. You will say, okay, what's the field name? What is the input limit for that field? So that's another.
And Lilia, this is really small, but noticing it's capitalized, but you probably want to make sure it's lowercase so that you can just copy and paste the field name.
Right. I think word it changes.
Yeah, I think it
does.
automatically puts that first.
Really
Annoying.
Yeah.
And I think one thing I really want to do is make a new project, re-import things with new file names, delete old file names, have everyone kill their branches so that the zombie files don't keep freaking coming back, and just have like naming conventions for file names as well. And because, sorry, that just reminded me because it's driving me a bit crazy.
Yeah.
That is a good
It's
observation.
It's hard with these because someone didn't know when they're working on it how it fit into.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't know.
We'll
We didn't know what we wanted. Yeah.
But it's a process.
It helps to have conventions, though. You're right.
Right. The field name actually. I saw some of the fields are very, very, very long, like 10 words in it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So we can tell people, be descriptive, but keep it to 5 words if you can. That's probably helpful for people to know.
I also think,
I would say that probably would be part of the standard procedure, and say when you name those fields, just keep the maximum to be 5 fields.
I think what we're going to need to do to be effective is to have ideally multiple stages of quality checks. Where people can graduate from learning how to do a thing to learning to quality checking it, because beginners will make file names that don't make sense, right? And then before there will be a stage where it's like a Trello column that's like, fix the file name, right? Like, here's the file, fix the file name, then move it on to the next, like a lot of those kind of breaking things down into like really discrete steps that people of various levels can tackle.
And this is, again, I can't help get into the weeds, but I guess this is a good time to do it, we need a section on tables and how to deal with tables in our naming convention standards. We didn't address that at all. And all of the tables that I've dealt with needed a lot of work to get right.
Yeah.
And that makes sense because people don't necessarily understand how it fits together.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
so that's something we need to add into documentation.
Sounds like for action items, maybe what needs to happen is we need to start with a review of existing documentation and onboarding procedure, because that will then necessitate a 30,000 overview of the entire workflow.
But Lily, you're showing your screen, right?
You're sharing your screen currently. Oh, sorry. No worries.
Just in case you're going to
start fine. Just in case
something.
You're about to start reading emails or something.
Actually, I needed to do this just to show you what I have there. So
okay.
So here's the shorter version. Here's the original one.
Oh, that's helpful, yeah.
And then when you go to here.
And that's the addendum.
Right.
Shows different parts. Okay.
And the code in that addenda is just this. So you don't need to customize. It automatically works.
That's nice. It's just loops through the addenda.
Yeah, the list.
That's a good idea. The only thing we couldn't figure out is how to do tables in the Word doc automatically. But I guess you can. You can just set like a flag on it that says this is a table. I guess that's the answer.
Yeah. Well, the table thing you already have in your so that's the table thing, right?
Yeah.
To
How to automate that part. But I think the answer is you can automate columns and rows. So you just have to store that information somehow in that list that you're creating.
Yeah,
if you wanted to do that.
To do it, but each field is already in its own field. Plus, each table could have different number of columns, for example.
Yeah.
Or the layout is different.
So I hate to go back to this, but maybe the Markdown is. I know we had a whole discussion about how much nicer the formatting is with a Word document. But if this is a good avenue, I think
that's a good point.
It's fine to go back. So you can obviously control column number and row number in a Markdown a little easier.
Maybe if we can find a different Markdown renderer, like the whole visual problem will be a bit more under control.
Maybe, but I think I don't think we need to go that far. So it's just Pandoc, which is pretty much the standard for that. So, we can put in our own LaTeX style sheets. I just have never driven down that far to figure that out.
Yep.
And then
just
it's
saying,
PHP.
like we might find someone. I keep an eye out for people, right? But I think it might be doable if we're on like a slower time scale, and it might be doable to actually look into, one of these solutions. It's just you seemed so adamant about it. Maybe I'm attaching too much weight to it now. I don't know.
You really have no control over the font and the spacing. And it's easier to let people edit it, but it depends on how many of these addenda we need. I mean, if you hand create each addendum, which is, I think, my inclination, if you have a form, you build it by hand. Auto-generated things generally aren't as good as when they're hand-built, unless you have to do a bunch of them, and then you make mistakes because you're trying to do a bunch of things by hand instead of just one that you can pay careful attention to. That's the tipping point, I guess, for me. It's like, if we have to do this for most of the forms and we find that it's hard to do it accurately or it's really super time consuming, then we have to switch our approach to whatever way we can automate.
Does anyone have any sense as to the population of forms for which a robust addenda is necessary?
In this 209A package, we had 8 forms. The most addenda fields we needed, I think, was maybe 5, but some needed none, some needed 1.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll say it's probably at least 50%, right?
50% will need an addendum. That's probably about right. Yeah.
Some kind of addendum.
Yeah, because I mean, with the family law forms, half of them require you to list your kids, and people might always have more kids than there are spots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So tables are really like the area where we're going to need addenda the most as well. So we definitely need.
That's a good point.
If we wanted to automate the addenda, we need to be able to automate tables somehow.
Okay, so I would like to investigate the possibility then.
Okay, that would be great. That would be great, Lily.
So Quentin, say again, you are thinking of generating the code and then just plug into here, right?
Well, I think it might be worth talking with Jonathan, asking him on Slack if he had ideas about whether inserting the raw docx code makes sense. Then I know you can iterate both over rows and columns in Jinja, so in a docx file. So that actually rather than switching the work we've done to get the header and everything looking right, we might just have code that generates different numbers of columns and rows as needed. And then I would say at that point, if those don't seem like good avenues, then we would look at switching the template format to Markdown format.
Okay.
Because we know we can do it there.
Okay.
Jonathan might have some really good ideas about it. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Worth asking.
Yeah.
Okay, so
action points.
Yeah, there's some action items already here. Lily's going to investigate some stuff for this, but I think what we're talking about is like generally move into phase 2. I feel like maybe it would be helpful, just because Maeve, I know you sort of are the keeper of knowledge on a lot of points. So maybe we should schedule like a data dump for us to go over the documentation and workflow and all the things you've been doing with Michelle and Matt and Kate and Caroline about where you interface with everything. And then we can sort of take that 30,000 foot view and then figure out where we need to interface with other people with an eye towards figuring out what a new onboarding scheme looks like that will try to stand up as summer volunteers come on board.
And I think standardize a bit of like what platforms are we using for passing on what kind of knowledge in what ways, right? We don't want to be spread out over a million. We have Trello and we have, you know, GitHub and we have Google Docs. and like we have a few different things, and it may be that we need those 3 things, but like I think there are other things. So like if we can say, this is what we use this for, this is how we use this, this is how we use this, this is how we keep track of people's knowledge, right? Like, does everybody have a journal in the Google Docs that they like just take 5 minutes to write in every day? I don't know.
I started to hit the paywall on Slack trying to find old messages.
Me too.
Okay, well that's unfortunate.
So we need that. We need that
tool to go back and get old messages. Who was? Did we have anyone who was familiar with that tool?
I
think we had just. I think we just Googled it, and I don't think anyone actually had any familiarity with one.
Caroline had something with.
Well, she Googled. She just Googled it during the call.
Remember, and I just I didn't do anything with it. I just.
Slark, I think, right?
Slark.
But I think there was a concern that it would archive more things than we wanted as well.
Yeah.
Well, we just have to keep it, all right.
Right, because you want the channels, not the DMs, probably.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, we'll just make this part of after Maeve and I have our data dump and figure out what the workflow looks like. We'll have a better understanding of what we need to. Yeah. Well, but I think if we start with, if we want to do a 3 of us afternoon call, we can all do that together. I'm just trying to, for scheduling, because I think this is going to be like a marathon, multi-hour dump. I'm booked all tomorrow. So, but I have from our call through 3 on Wednesday. So those 2 hours there from 1 to 3 would be a good time. Is that a good time for both of you?
I can do that, but I think Michelle, it's only for like the testing stuff that I need Michelle.
Well, then maybe we should start with just a call between me and Maeve, and then we'll bring Michelle in as we come to have specific needs. So we'll identify all the action items, and then unless you just want to sit in and involve yourself in a fun data dump for 2 hours.
Michelle and I sometimes do that. We just sit on and don't talk.
No. That's I'll see, and Maeve and I'll talk about like what I can be useful with.
Because we also need to talk about testing as well. So we can have that call either today or tomorrow, depending on your availability. But that's a good idea. Okay, and then is there anything else that we need to talk about right now? It's been a long meeting.
And I had also asked that people think about what their personal exit strategy was, for lack of a better word. Like, when is it you are going to disappear? Matt is a good model for us of thinking proactively about what was coming up on his plate and giving people forewarning about that. And I think it was a very smooth transition because of that. So I just want people to think about that.
Yeah.
Well, just to let everyone know, I work on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I'm stable in that way.
All right. Good.
Stability in life. Wow.
As long as we don't have a crisis on Mastical Health, right, Lily?
I'll talk to you.
Right.
But knock wood, we haven't had one for a while, so.
Oh, don't tempt fate, Caroline.
I knock wood. I knock wood.
Um, I think maybe what we could do is we could have, if everyone's available for Casual Friday, we could expand that on
Yeah.
Is that too late in the week?
No, I think that works fine. And I'm actually going to
Lily,
go
you're
ahead
also
and
available.
block off.
I'll bring my dinner. You guys can bring your lunch, and we can chat
And
about the transition.
It'll be nice.
That
We can
too.
chat about because Maeve and I will have had a chance then to sort of scope out some stuff, and that'll give me Thursday to sort of play around with some more stuff. So I'll set up an invite and give you an invite, Maeve, and we'll figure out for Wednesday, and then we can all re-talk on Friday. An optimist me would say that we have interesting things to talk about on Friday, because by then maybe some other stuff, but we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But now we have this new testing on the TRO, so I'm not saying magically let's be ready, because we're not quite ready yet. So I'll take the little bit of time.
Okay.
Oh, do we have a court partner? We can talk about that later if you don't know yet. But
no, but it's being looked into.
Okay.
It's being looked into.
Once we have that, then I can start enabling the email feature and feel okay for doing that.
Yeah, I sent another email this morning.
Okay.
All right.
Kate, have you got a minute or two after this?
Who?
Kate, you.
Yeah.
I just have a question I think it'd be easier to talk about rather than doing a Slack thing.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Quentin, you said that you have done this forms for the addendum. Is that right?
So which forms for the addendum?
The 6 that you listed, or I wasn't sure if you need us to do or.
Oh, so the 6 I listed are the ones that are not done. We only have 1.5 done.
So do you need me to do those 6 or?
If you have time to work on any of them, yes, I think we definitely need all of them done before we can make it public. I feel like we can explain that to our beta participants, that if they have an overflow, they need to add that page themselves, maybe.
Now comparing that with the code to automate the table portion, which one is more urgent?
So we have, I think, like one more table to do. So I would just do that manually, unless you think that the way that you're doing the automating of the addendum is a lot faster and it's worth figuring out how to add the table to that.
Well, if those forms don't have many tables, then I think what I've done should help.
Yeah, it
it's
could
for
probably.
Text fields. It's for text fields, so I can just apply that to those forms and get it done. But the thing is there anyone who can identify what fields need to be, or the limit of field or anything? I was hoping that Mark would do that step, but you're saying he's not.
I think he will, and it'll be really helpful when we have like another 30 forms to do, but I don't think it makes sense to go back and redo it, and it will take longer than when we want these addenda. I think that the answer is I did a estimate for all of the fields, but you can look at that and tell me if I missed some of them.
Card in Trello, yeah.
Yep, and then I put it on Slack too. I think that has the information.
Yeah, I think I saw that somewhere.
The fields?
I think I counted all the fields that I said, the ones I said that we needed. I also said that the character limit.
Oh,
I might not have said for the tables how many rows it has, but that should be really easy to see.
Okay, if it's already there, that'd be great. Then I can do it. Now, just one last question. Because I haven't done this yet.
And FYI, Maeve just said she had internet issues.
Okay. So people are still making changes to those YUM files, right? So when I make my changes for the addendum, do I need to constantly pull the new changes so that, no?
No, you could concentrate them in like the end of the file, maybe if you wanted. And then, I mean, GitHub's pretty good at merging usually. So
okay.
We'll resolve conflicts if we run into them, but I don't expect that we will.
Okay, great. Thanks.
All right.
Okay.
Well, since we lost Maeve to internet issues, She said she'd watch the rest of the video on YouTube. Anything else then for today? I'm gonna have a meeting with her. We'll reconvene on. I mean, we'll talk again tomorrow, but we'll have a longer discussion on Friday, all of us, about stuff. But okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna be struggling a bit today. I can tell already that. I'm sorry, guys.
It's fine.
Some days are just like that, and so I can do like if someone were just to tell me, spend the day telling me do this thing, do this discrete item, that would probably be the safest option. I realize that's not possible, so I'm gonna do the best.
Do whatever you can, and don't worry about what you can't.
Yeah, the most danger comes from not knowing what I can't, right?
Well, I don't think there's anything right now. I don't think there's anything right now that
I can mess up that badly.
Yeah.
Nice.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, I do have one.
So just do check my pull requests. I'm gonna stop merging pull requests now because I already had a couple. Mix-ups there. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Lily.
Okay. In the template of this this interview, I saw a lot of. I mean, there are some of the PDF files I cannot quite match with the YAM files. For example, there was one PDF file that has two copies. One says .pdf, one says .pdf, and then the size of the two are very different. And how can I tell which one is the good one? And then there are also some files that says to be updated or to be uploaded or whatever. So
this is
final version.
So what I do is, first of all, package.yaml has at the top included all the files that are being used in the live 209A interview. So if you go to those files and you look at the PDF file name that they're using, that is the PDF that you should be looking at.
Okay, great, thanks.
Right.
I did try to be accurate for which file name I gave you, so I should have given you the exact file name on Slack and in the card in Trello.
Okay, great. Yeah,
that's part of the cleanup we'll have to do that Michelle was talking about. Yeah, it'll be really helpful for making these things easier. But yep, we don't want to break things by trying to clean them up until we get it out the door.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe Kate, maybe Maeve. We need to start reviewing the tests that have come in to just confirm that we have taken care of the items. If you have time for that today, Kate, to take care of the items that were remarked upon. I think we have done a lot of that, but I'm not sure we've covered all of them.
I'm not sure really what that entails, so you might have to show me. But
sure.
And I might need like an hour or two before I can turn to that.
That also
maybe at 3.
Okay.
Okay.
Today's Monday. Sure.
Today's Monday. Yeah, if we can Zoom at 3 or something.
Okay. Yeah. I think that. Yeah. Cool. Yes, David, you are on mute.
I realized that. But not until it was after I'd started talking. So Kate, if you talk when you're reaching out to Chris, he's not always on Slack, so phone sometimes is the better. I don't think he's given you that info yet, but just if you ping him sooner rather than later and maybe suggest phone, that might be good.
Yeah, I sent him a DM on Slack during this call. He hasn't gotten back to me yet.
If you tell me, if he hasn't responded in a bit, tell me and I'll message him.
Okay.
I'll just message him that he's got something on Slack and then he is more likely to do it. Or possibly I could just ask him if you can have his number, in which case texting just works more effectively. Yeah.
Okay.
Different strokes for different folks.
That's right.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, everyone, it's looking great. I feel like we really are getting close to phase 2. So,
yeah. Someday. I gotta go update the phases document and be like, sometime this week. No specific date.
Carolyn, we probably need to switch to a new Zoom, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you want to send me one, or do you want me to send you one?
Will you send me one?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. Thanks. Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.